All right, here we go. All right, uh, we're going to be looking a bit at different resources you guys can use in your classroom. I've got a whole bunch of them for you here, so hopefully we'll get through these in pretty quickly. Just to give you a little information about myself, I work for the Yakima School District. I'm a CT TOSA. So work for Career Technical Ed. I help support all of our classroom teachers in doing curriculum, technology, integrating technology, also coming up with different resources online. As you guys know, with the COVID has really hit us pretty hard, and online resources became huge for us to find. So hopefully I have a few resources for you guys that will be useful. If you guys have any questions or questions for me, just go ahead and post them in the question, and I'll answer them as fast as I can if I can see them. So the first one we're going to start with is WizardMe. So what WizardMe allows you to do is allows you to create interactive worksheets for your students. So if I want to, I can come to worksheets. I can create a new worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and use a current worksheet here that we have. And in this worksheet will allow me to just create different questions that I can ask the kids. And I can add it to my Google Drive. I can embed it. I can share it. And the students can do it online. As you can see, I can import to Canva if I want to. You can also bring this into Canvas and be able to use in Canvas with your students. I do not have a handout with this information because I pretty much do everything live. But what I can do is I will create a link to all of these, and I will send that out to the people in charge, and maybe they can get you guys that information. So what excuse me. So what Wizard allows you to do is allows you to create interactive worksheets online for students to do. I can assign it to learners. I can via a link or doing it by class. So I can do any of those types of things. You can have the answers. I can share the worksheet. If you needed to, you can go to their dashboard, and there's thousands and thousands of worksheets that people have done. You don't need to have a paid account. It works with the free account, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, yeah, Andrew, I will send that to you, and I can get all that information out to you. I just hadn't created anything for that. Okay, so that's interactive. That's WizardMe for interactive worksheets. Another one I'm going to share with you guys is EverFi. EverFi is free for teachers. It's always will be free, and it's free curriculum for you to use. You can create an account through them, and it's always free. So what I'm going to come down here is we'll kind of look at one. Here's one for financial education. If I clicked on financial education, it takes me in. There's also lessons for middle, high school, and elementary. There are lessons for you to be able to do, interactive lessons, lesson plans, and everything else for those different subject areas. And all you do is create an account through them. It's set it up for you. It is all free. They have a course catalog there, and they just keep adding new information to this site all the time. So this is always free. So this is everfi.com. They are really great to work with. I've created accounts with them, and we haven't had any issues whatsoever with them. Okay, the next one, which you guys are probably familiar with, is that it was Kahoot. I know a lot of you probably have used, anybody have used Kahoot before? You go to do thumbs up in the chat or say, yeah, you have. Kahoot's a really great resource for you to use to be able to create kind of questions or answers for students that you can question them on some curriculum or any kind of fun activities. Kahoot is a blast. to use in classrooms. We use it quite a bit in the Yakima School District with our students. If you don't want to create anything, I can come to their homepage and I can search for a Kahoot that I want to find. So I can click on Discover, and I can click on a Kahoot. It's like, say I want to find something for math. So I'm just going to click on for math, and there's some Kahoots already done for math. So I don't really have to recreate one if I don't want to create one. You can create one if you want to. A lot of times we see that there's already something that somebody's already created. You might as well use what somebody else has created. And that way you don't have to recreate it yourself. So that's Kahoot. I know I'm going through this stuff really, really quick with you. Studio, as you guys know, code.org is a really great resource for you to do computer science. So like if I'm going to be doing computer science, or I've been told I'm going to do computer science, but I really don't have any money to do computer science, then I can do to code.org. Code.org offers trainings for you to be able to go to trainings. The trainings do cost money, but if you don't want to do the trainings, you don't have to do the trainings. I recommend you do the trainings for code.org. Excellent, excellent trainings. So I'm going to click on the course catalog here. So in the course catalog, as you can see, we have grades K through 5, 6, 12, and beyond. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the K5. And in here, there's course A, course B, C, D, E, and F. It kind of goes through the different things. So I'm going to say we've got 6 and 10-year-olds. I'm going to pick course C. As soon as I pick course C, it talks about some of the activities. Now, here's what's really cool with computer science, with code.org. What if I don't have computers? What if I'm going to try to computer science without having computers? What's really cool with code.org is there's unplugged activities. So you don't have to have a computer to be able to do the courses or to actually teach computer science. One of the other cool things with computer science, and this is kind of off the topic, but one of the really cool things, I was working with a kindergarten classroom, and we created a big, huge grid on the floor using black electrical tape or masking tape. We use black electrical tape because it comes up and it doesn't leave a residue. And we had cards with arrows on them, and then we had a dog, a picture of a dog, and a picture of a bone. So I put the dog on one of the grids in the squares, and I put the bone in the other grid, and I said, okay, using the arrows, how do we get to that dog? And what was really cool is the kids were learning, you know, the basic with coding and basic coding things, using the arrows to how to get there. And then we talked about how can we get there quicker. And one kid said, well, can we go diagonal? I don't know. Can you turn the arrows diagonal? And those types of things. So anyways, I know that's kind of off the subject, but with code.org, as you can see, there's digital citizenship sequencing. And what's really cool with code.org, if you sign up and you create a teacher account, it'll give you a code that you can give to the students. And then the students can do all the courses that you want them to do and work their way through the courses, and you can track them to see how well they are doing. And it is 100% free. Now, in some of the activities, when you get up in the high school ones, they'll ask for microbits and other things. That's where the cost is going to have to come involved with using microbits with the courses in code.org. So you kind of have to kind of check that out and kind of go from there. And they keep adding more and more content all the time to code.org. Okay, another one, which is really cool and it's really fun for kids to do, is MIT App Inventor. And a lot of the things I'm showing you today are all free because I love to have free things, and I know teachers like to have stuff that is free, and especially when you don't have a classroom budget and you're wanting to have some activities or things to do with kids and you don't have the budget to pay for them. That's why I love these types of resources, because they really help you in your course, in your classes. MIT has what they call App Inventor. What this allows you to do, it allows the kids, and now allows the kids to create an app. My age group that I would recommend for this is 6 through 12. Could you do it with 5th graders? Probably. It's going to be a little bit tough to do with 5th graders, but you can do it with 5th graders. And this allows them to create an app. And you can see right in front of me is the viewer. So like if I'm creating my app, I can run it on my device, so what it would look like a device, and see if it actually works. Then what's really cool with this is you can export this stuff out and import it in on a tablet or a device and actually run the app that the kids do. We use this in our classrooms. Those who are familiar with Project Lead the Way will know that this app inventor is used in our Project Lead the Way courses. I'm not going to go into detail on how all of these work. I just wanted to kind of show you all these different things that you can do. What's really cool with App Inventor is that there is tutorials. So if I don't know how to use it, I can use the tutorials and walk through on how to use it. YouTube's a good resource also for doing the tutorials. So let me close some of these screens out. Is there any questions so far for me? You can put them in the chat if you want to. And I'm kind of monitoring the chat. This is one of my favorite ones to use. It's called FFES. How many of you have used Photoshop before? Anybody? Yes in the comments, thumbs up. Okay, so I see a few of you have used Photoshop. It's expensive, or sometimes it's really hard to use, or the kids don't have access to it, or it costs too much money. Well, guess what? FFES is free. I can click on New Project, and I'm just going to say Test. All right, come on. And I'm just going to hit Create, because I want to create a blank one. Could I bring in pictures? Yes, I could bring in pictures. But here's what's really cool with this. Notice how it has all the different things like Photoshop does. I have my 3D blur, my blurs, my distorts, my noise, all these things, my layers, my image, all my different types of tools that I can use in my project. So I'm going to image. I can come in and I can bring an image in. I can do some adjustment. I can add whatever I want to my file. And what's really cool is you can save this. Say a kid worked on this and then came back into your classroom and wanted and had access to Photoshop. What's really cool is these will save as a PSD, which will work in Photoshop. So they can go back and forth between these. Kids can save these in your Google Drive. And excellent resource. I love FFES. It's always free. As you notice, I didn't have to create an account because you don't have to create an account, because I can download the PNG and it'll save the PNG to my computer. I don't have to try to I don't have to have an account to save it to my account or online. I can just save it directly to my computer, dump it in my Google Drive if I want to. So that's FFES. When things were happening nationwide, Pittsco decided that, you know, we want to have some program that allows for teachers to use things at home or students to use things at home. And I'm looking at the question Premiere. Yes, there's something equivalent to it. And they do have one, and I'm drawing a blank over the name of it. But yes, there is a free version of similar to it to Premiere. And the only issue is that that one's pretty limited. If you want to get more in depth with it, it actually costs you money, unfortunately. And I can't think of the name of it. And we used it for a while, and we quit using it just because of that aspect, because it started costing money. And so we kind of got away from it. But yes, there is something equivalent to that. Okay, so get back to Pittsco. So Pittsco, resourcespittsco.com. They have STEM Anywhere. So I'm going to come down here, and they have different classroom guidelines for environments, but I'm going to come into this. So say I wanted to create catapults for my kids. I can either click on the picture or click download. It really doesn't matter. But here is my activity that I can do with the kids. Popsicle sticks, pencils, rubber bands, spoons, and it kind of walks you through a little bit. I know it's pretty simple. There isn't a whole lot there, but this is something that that you could send home with kids and say, hey, if you have any stuff around the house, create a catapult. If you have anything, create your catapult, bring it into school, or let's test them out. Or you can use this in school because you notice there isn't a whole lot of cost involved with any of that things. Now, the Arduino preview, got it. So the Arduino preview actually has some lessons involved with Arduinos, using Arduino boards and everything else. So that would be a cost that you would have to have if you started doing the Arduino pieces. And then there's parachutes, and then pipe cleaner constellations, pop-up books, Rube Goldberg machine, sail car, all sorts of stuff. And they just kept adding stuff to it. Obviously, they want you to start getting into Tetrix because that's what they sell, or start getting the robotics so that you start buying the products from them using robotics and other things like that. Resources at pitsco.com is a really good resource for you to be able to do some activities with the kids in classroom or outside of classroom. Next one we're going to look at is jumpstart.com. Some people are familiar with this, some people are not. With jumpstart.com, there's activities, worksheets, lesson plans, and curriculum. So if I come in here to worksheets, so say I'm doing some kind of a worksheet. Now you are limited to what they have. I've noticed that they've been adding a lot more to it over the last few years to it. I mostly support 6th through 12th grade. But once in a while, we have some students with special needs, or a lot of the elementary teachers will say, hey, what can we do? What can we do with the activities for our kids? We're running out of stuff to do, or stuff that you want to send home with kids or to have for yourself. I know my wife, she teaches self-contained, and she's all over different sites looking for this worksheet and this, that, and that worksheet. So jumpstart.com is a great place to start. So if I clicked on phonics worksheets, and I have some different phonics, I will just click letters in circles. And there's printables. So if I click get it now, what it'll do, it'll say, do you want to print it or do you want to download it? You notice they're nice in color. If I click the download the PDF, then automatically would download the PDF, and then I can print them. If you had a PDF editor, then you could edit these if you really wanted to, if you needed to. Or if you had students, if you had Google Classroom or anything else, and you had Kami, which is attached to it. And I'm going to go into a little bit with the Google too, with you guys. I'm going to show you some really cool things that you can use with your kids. If I put this in Google and using Kami, which is a markup, the kids can actually circle which one it is with the computer instead of handwriting it, so you wouldn't have to print necessarily, but you can put these in your Google Classroom or on your Canvas page and then use them. So that's jumpstart.com. I know I'm going through this pretty quick with you guys. Another really great one we'd love to use is Tinkercad. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Tinkercad. Tinkercad allows you to do 3D design for free or circuits for free. There's lessons involved. There's Tinkercad lessons. There's also, if I come into the teach, it's going to take me to Tinkercad, which there are some lessons there in Tinkercad where I can learn how to use different things, shortcuts, classroom decorations. You notice who sponsors it, Autodesk, which is the Autodesk software. By the way, for those who don't know, Autodesk is free for educational schools. So if you're trying to do CAD, you're trying to start CAD in your programs, but you don't want to have that cost of CAD, because usually CAD's about $2,000 to $3,000 per unit per computer, but it's free for education. So just remember that. So if I come into 3D design, so I'm going to create a new design. This is always a fun one. So like if you've got 3D printers available to you, or even if the kids play Minecraft or other things, you can export this to use in Minecraft. You can use them to export them if you want to 3D print them, or just files for the kids to learn how to do some 3D design. So I'm going to grab my box. I'm going to grab and put my box out here. And you notice I can change my width, length, height. So I'm going to stretch this box out. Now, I have my basic shapes, but then I can also come into text and numbers. So I'm going to bring a text in, and I'm going to color it different. Color doesn't really matter. It doesn't, it's not going to 3D print in that color. You'd have to feed that color in a 3D printer if you wanted to. But the reason why I do this is because then the kids can see, and I'll show you here in a minute. Now, you notice when I bring the text in, I want to put on top of my boxes below. So what I've got to do is I've got to raise my my text up. So I've got to take it and I got to move it higher. So I just grab this little, looks like a raindrop, and I can grab my text and then I can change it. My name. Hello? Why is it not doing it? There it goes. I can change it to my name, and then what the kids can do is they can print this up and have their own name tag for their desk. Or what we've done is we have the kids create quadrupeds. So these kids are designing animals using different shapes and creating their different animals. What's really kind of cool with these, and the kids get a kick out of, is the names they automatically name it. Can I change the name? Sure, I can. I can change the name. Instead of calling it Terrific Go-Go, I can call it something else. So the kids get kind of creative with that. Now, when I click export, see, I can create as an object file, STL, or these files, or I can cut it for laser engraving. Or if I want to send it to a printer, so if I had certain printers, so if I had a MakerBot, or if I had different types of 3D printers that are on a network, then I could send it to the 3D printer directly and would be fine with, and can actually print to the 3D printer from there. If I click on the blocks, you can kind of see what it looks like in the Minecraft format. So the kids get a really kick out of this, of seeing what it's going to look like if it was in Minecraft. And if I do to bricks, it does it in bricks like we would do for Legos. Now, as you can see, it doesn't really convert very well, but it's kind of fun for the kids to see what it would be in Legos. So we're going to come back, and you notice it's automatically saving my work. And the way I get back, I just click on the Tinkercad icon. And you notice there's my other file, my files that I used earlier. What's really cool with Tinkercad is I'm going to create a new circuit. What Tinkercad has, and this is not super new, but what the nice thing is they've done the microbit component. So remember earlier when I talked about code.org and you needed microbits? Well, if you still can't afford microbits, guess what? I can bring my microbit in and do my microbits. So I can do microbits with the kids and without having to purchase microbits. It's not as much fun because you don't get to build any things, but I can bring the microbits in. So I can create different circuits. And once I create my circuit or do different things within my circuit, then I can run it and did it work? Now, with the same thing with the circuits is that I can go to the tutorials and go through the tutorials, and they tell me, how does this work? You know, here's my resistors, here's my capacitors. So if I am using if I'm doing my basics, so here's my basics, and I wanted to bring in just the light up. And I'm going to get rid of this. I can start the simulation, and it'll light up my light. And as you notice right here, watch my light. I click my start simulation, my light lines up. So the kids can learn, can start with basic things if they want to, basic starters, or we can come to Arduino and start developing different things with Arduino. Or if I want to, I can start from scratch and add anything I want in and create my own circuits. So this is really cool and really fun for the kids to do, because then they can say, well, what happens if I take and put a 9-volt battery on this? Well, what's really neat is if they have put too much on these little LED lights, the LED lights will actually blow up. So the kids think that's kind of cool when they blow up a light. But what's really neat about it is that nobody gets hurt, because you don't have to worry about stuff exploding and throwing stuff everywhere in the classroom. Although the kids think that's really fun to actually blow things up and watch things pop, and then watch the teacher jump as they did that. If you notice that when I move my mouse over it, I can scroll in wherever I want to, you know, and then we talk about transistors and what the colors mean. There's online sites that you can look those up, and they can kind of tell you a little bit more about that information. Okay, so that is Tinkercad. Any questions for me before I go on? All right. Well, if you have questions, just go ahead and add them in to the chat. The tutorials for Tinkercad are really, really good. They walk you through step by step. So if I go into my Tinkercad, let me come in here, pull one up. Place it. So here's one of the tutorials for Tinkercad. Welcome to Tinkercad. So it walks you through step by step by step, and I can go to next and kind of go through that. So it's really, really simple to use. So that's why this is perfect for elementary, for middle school, for high school. So if there's a kid who's in first grade and doing this, they love it. I sat down with a bunch of second grade girls from Girl Scouts because they had to earn some badge in 3D printing or something in STEM related. So what we did is we sat down with them. We went through some of these tutorials with the second graders. They created their own objects. Then we 3D printed them for them, and they had a blast. So yeah, the tutorials are very, very simple. They are limited. There isn't a ton of them, but you know, you can always go to YouTube, and there's a whole bunch more on YouTube. You see, there's quite a few. I can see all the starters, and there's a whole bunch. But everything that you're doing here is pretty much what you would do for the entire program. So it's pretty easy to use. That's why we like Tinkercad. Plus, some of that, it's free. So there's no cost. The only issue you would have is that students can't create accounts unless they're 13 years or older. So that's one thing that you kind of have to think about when they're creating accounts. So as long as you have permission, or it depends on your district on how that works. So what we do is we use these in the high school and in the high school and the middle school, because our kids are old enough. So we don't have too much of a problem, because we start using this in 8th grade and 7th grade with our kids. So most of our kids are 13 at that point. Some of them are. And then those who are not, then what we do is we get special permission from the parents. No, yeah, there's only, each student has to have their own account. There's no roster choice. I've been talking with Autodesk and saying, you know, it'd be great if we could have some kind of a teacher end side of it where I could just give the kids a code and it gets in there. I can put in lessons and everything else. And Autodesk is like, yeah, that's a great idea. I guess they're working on something like that, but I have yet to hear from them to say, yes, this is something, or here it is. So say you're doing robotics, but you don't have the money to do robotics, and you want the kids to do some kind of robotics. So Vex VR is for you. Now, Vex is a type of program or type of robot that is created by Vex. They're really expensive. We have quite a few kits to be able to do that. But what if a kid doesn't have access to a kit? What if they want to be able to program a robot? Now, it's not as much fun as actually building a robot and then programming it, but they can at least do the programming here. And then once they do the programming here, they can export it out. They can share it. And once they share it, then they can export it into the robot that they actually built. So say we have a bunch of kids that are programming robots at home because they're stuck at home with COVID or whatever. They come back in the classroom, they have their program. Now let's see if it's going to work for real. But what's really neat is Vex also has tutorials that you can go through, and they can kind of show you how to do all the tutorials. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drive my robot forward. I'm going to have it turn right. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to have it turn right for 90 degrees and then go forward another 200. And as you can see, I just drag and drop. Can I change these parameters? Yeah, I can change it to inches, to millimeters. I can change my parameters in here. I can go forward or reverse, and they can click. And then you can see how you have different things that you can do with it. You can add your sensors to it, your operators, so you can get super fancy with it. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to do this, and I'm going to click start. You notice it brings up my playground. So it's going to develop a playground. It's going to move my robot. He's going to turn, and he moves. So I know it's VexVR, vr.vex.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sheet, and I'm going to send it out to people who will get it out to you guys with all the links to the websites that we're showing today. So this is really cool that the kids can do, because they can actually run the robot and see. And I can do different cameras that I can set up. So I'm going to set up this camera, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to run it again so the kids can see what it looks like from camera view. Or I can change the camera and we'll run it again. And I can just kind of keep running it and running it and running it. So that's what's really cool with this. I can see the different camera views and kind of check it out. And what's really neat is I can do all sorts of things. Say I want to do a wall maze. So it's going to generate a wall maze. And so since I have my wall maze, I can have my wall maze over here, and then I'm going to program my robot to try to get to the different spots in the maze. So then we talk about, how do I do that? What do I need to drag on here? Say if I want to get to 1, what do I need to do if my robot's here to get to 1? So that gives you, so the kids can learn how to get to different areas and learn how to program. The robots that is used with this are Vex robotics. They're kind of spendy, but the nice thing is they're all made out of metal. Most of the pieces are made out of metal, so they pretty much last forever. It's just that you will be losing screws and nuts and bolts and all sorts of little tiny pieces that you could potentially use. So you may have to replace them. We've had Vex in our district 10 years or so, and we lose a few pieces here and there, but not a whole lot. They're really durable. They can run them into things. They don't, the worst thing is the metal bends and you bend it back. So it's really not that hard. I mean, they're great robots. They're pretty sturdy. They have different motors you can get. You can make a tank. There's also VEX competitions. So different competitions, like one of them, they make a claw bot. It's got a claw on the end of it that grabs objects and moves it from around the different areas on the boards. Like we have one, which is a rescue robot that has to go in, grab a bomb, and grab it outside the arena and dispose of it in the bomb disposal. And they have 3 of them they have to go find, open up mailboxes in a little house, all sorts of things to be able to do to actually do the robot. Then you have different things too, that different playgrounds that you can load up. And this is what's really cool, is there's so much here for the kids that, you know, it's pretty much endless in what you can do. If I click activities, they have a lot more information for you and different types of activities for you to do with the VEX robotics. And they just keep adding more and more and more and more and more to it. Same thing, if I click tutorials, there's tutorials for everything you need to do to be able to run the robot. So the basic things, using loops, storing data, different things, so the kids can learn how to use the robot. And the nice thing is you're able to do this without having any expense in robots, but I recommend that you do have some robots. All right. W3 Schools. One of the best sites that I've been to in a very, very, very long time. So if I click on tutorials, here's the different types of tutorials it is. W3 Schools is more for computer programming, web page design, XML, AI type things, but it's all free. So like if the kids want to learn JavaScript, so I can click on Learn JavaScript. And you notice here on the left-hand side are all the lessons for JavaScript. There's more information here and more lessons here than the kids can get through. And so if I click on the introduction, it takes me to the introduction, and it talks about what this, an example, and then you can try it yourself. So I can try it myself and keep and kind of work my way through it and keep going. Then once I get to the end of the lesson, I can click next. It takes me to the next lesson in the JavaScript. So this is really cool. If the kids want to learn to do some programming and you're not a coder or you've never taught computer science and you just don't know what to do. The issue is, you can see there are some commercials that do pop up, but every one of them has been appropriate. I've not seen anything that has not been appropriate for schools. So, and if I want to do Python, and so I can come in and learn how to do Python and all the lessons with Python. And this is completely free, but that is set up for students, and they can kind of do it on their own if they want to do it on their own, or you can set it up for them. Okay, so this is w3schools.com. Really great website for doing some computer programming and things, and it's all free. Can I do paid courses? Sure. If I click on the paid courses, they do have some courses that that you pay for, and you notice the prices of them. But why pay for them when they're all free? And it's pretty much the same thing. It's just that these ones are monitored and you get a certificate at the end of it. But why not? If a kid comes in and say they come in and they complete everything for HTML and they complete the whole thing, you can come in there and you can see that they've completed, maybe have a little test for them or something, and then they can be able to, you can give them a certificate for completing it. Another resource for you guys, which is really good, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but if you're in middle school, 6th through 12th grade, or even high school, 6th through 12, Microsoft Academy, they have free Microsoft certifications for students. No cost to you, no cost to your district to have these certifications. I mean, you do have the cost of the computers and things to be able to do the testing. We do testing. We do about 500 to 600 kids pass certifications and have those Microsoft certifications in hand. So that is available for you guys. If you want to do that, you just need to, and I will put the contact person for the Microsoft Academy in on that sheet that will get out to you guys. And you can contact them and they'll get your school and your district set up for that. There's a little bit of training to go to. The training is free. During the training, you actually get to take one of the tests for free and be able to test it out. And what's really cool about the Microsoft certification tests is it's not just for students, but it's also for staff. So staff can also take the test for free. So that's pretty cool, especially when we start getting into college and career. So I'm going to show you, some of you are familiar with Google Apps. Some people know some of the tricks and some of the really cool things with it, and some people don't. I don't know if you guys know that, but if I wanted to move these icons around, I can click and drag, and I can rearrange them anywhere I want. So I can have them in the order that I want them. So I don't have to like scroll down and go, oh yeah, here's this, or here's this, or here's this. I can put all the ones that I use all the time up top. Google Docs are just docs. Sheets are like Excel documents. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you're doing an Excel sheet, I do some really complicated Excel trainings, and so we do some cross-reference with multiple sheets coming in and everything. If you try to do that in Google, if you do it in Excel and you dump it in your Google Drive, some of the formulas do not work in some of the sheets, like some of the vertical lookups and horizontal lookups that I have on multiple sheets, bringing in data doesn't necessarily work within the sheets. So that is one thing that you kind of want to look at. But one thing I want to show you is Keep. Now, I love Keep. If you have, if you've downloaded the app to your phone or anything else with Keep, it's kind of an organizer and a kind of place to take notes. So I'm going to take a note. Now I'm going to say shopping list. There's my note, but I want to add to it. So I'm going to add, but before I add, I want to make check boxes, and I'm going to put milk, eggs, and bread. All the essentials we need. So now I'm going to close it. Now I have this list, but so what? So I've come in here and I can check the list off or whatever. But here's what's really cool. I'm going to click remind me, and I'm going to pick a place. Now this is what's really cool with this. So I have Keep on my phone, and I have it tied to my account. Here's what's really cool. So, you know, how many times have we gone to the store, we forget the shopping list, or we can't remember what we had, we lose the list at home, we can't find the list, or we put it on our phone, and we're like, we go to Safeway, we forget about it, we don't get the notification. Here's what's really cool. So I'm going to type in Safeway, which is really close to me, and I'm going to click it, and I'm going to click Save. Now here's what's really cool. When I get close to Safeway, that particular Safeway, that list is going to pop up on my screen and Keep and say, hey, by the way, you're at Safeway. Do you need to buy these things at Safeway? So that is really, really cool to be able to use is Keep. So if you know that, oh, I have a meeting at this certain date, so I can put in, instead of picking a place, I can pick a reminder, a date, or tomorrow, a place, or a time, or a date and a time. So that if I have a meeting with somebody and I can't remember or what's on the list, I have that list. Or like, hey, if I ever run into so-and-so. So like one of my jobs is I go out to classrooms. I spend a lot of time in classrooms working with teachers and with students. A lot of times the teachers can't remember, oh, I was supposed to call you and I can't remember what it was for. And all of a sudden they see me and they remember. So I've got some teachers using the Keep that that will send me a link to their Keep. And so they'll say, hey, here's some questions I have for you next time you're in the neighborhood. And then I see all their Keeps, and then I remember when I get to their place because I put a place and time, and I pick their school. And when I walk in the school, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I was supposed to see so and so for that. But yeah, you can do it with your Apple Watch for sure. Yeah, 100%. It's really great stuff to be able to use. I love Google Keep. A lot of people don't use that. It's really kind of cool to use. Some of the other things that you guys are familiar with, classroom chats, Hangouts, and other things like that. Hangouts is pretty cool. That's a spot where you can go, and if there was anybody else in this Hangout, I could create a message in the Hangout, but I can enter an email or a phone number for somebody, and if they were available, then we can hang out together. We can have a conversation outside of that, and we can save that conversation so we have that conversation available for us to be able to use at a later date. So Google Hangouts is a really great spot to do things. I use Google Hangouts for different things. Google Slides is like PowerPoint. Forms is kind of cool. I use this kind of form. So I use an exit ticket. So if I have an exit ticket and I have these questions already pre-done, I'm going to send it to myself here so you guys can see. So I'm going to email it to myself. And I'm going to automatically collect respondents, and I'm going to click send. So I'm going to come to my email. And by the way, Gmail is now called, is recalled something. So there's my exit ticket. I'm going to fill out the form. And I'm going to fill out my name, email. I'm going to say nothing because that's what the kids like to say. Whereas prepared. No, because I forgot my stuff. Nothing. And I can have a copy of my response to me. I'm going to click submit. What's really cool is on this side, I can see the responses, but I can put it in a Google Sheet, create a sheet, create. Now I have a spreadsheet with the information that is coming in from my questions. But what's really cool is, say that person does it again. And they only fill in that much and they click submit. When I come to the sheet, it automatically updates the sheet as we go. Yes, and Google is starting to use the name Workspace. So that is something that they're starting to do now for education. So the nice thing is that with my form, I am getting automatic responses that are in that spreadsheet, and you can see that it's a live feed into that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet automatically is saved within my Google Drive, so I don't have to save it. I can export it out or do whatever I want to do with it. So that's what's really cool with the Google Forms is it allows me to create new forms and collect data. So if I had an assessment or a worksheet or a quiz, I could do those types of things. They have template galleries. They have all sorts of things. Okay, so the way I've got the question was, oh, you got it? Okay. Okay, how do I make my spreadsheet again? All right, so I have my exit ticket. So here's my Google form. And I send the Google form out to the person I want them to fill it out. They fill it out and they hit submit. When I come back into my form, I will see a response. And when I get that response, then I click on the create spreadsheet. And once I get the spreadsheet, then whenever anybody does the response to that question, then I have the spreadsheet. Then it'll dump all the information in the spreadsheet, and then it'll keep feeding into that spreadsheet. So So if I come back in, I'm going to have to come back into my Google Drive. And I'll have to go find it to be able to see my spreadsheet. So that's one thing that you want to make sure you guys are doing with your Google Drive, is keeping your Google Drive super organized. Because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to find anything. So, well, guys, that's pretty much it. I know I went through a lot of information for you guys. Hopefully it is something that you guys can take away and be able to use. I will give you my information in the chat if you need to contact me. There's my first and last name, my email. If you want to contact me, you can contact me. I'll be more willing to get back to you if you're looking for different resources. I have thousands and thousands of different resources. I just didn't have time to dig through all of them with you guys today. So thank you so much for coming. If you guys have any questions, I will stick around for a little bit and if you have and answer any questions that you guys have.